Okay, so today we are going to start our new chapter, that is fifth chapter, and our first topic is about plasma membrane. Okay, just give me a second. Yes, so this is our chapter plasma membrane. Okay, in plasma membrane today we are going to start with the structure and the function of membrane. Now, first of all, what is plasma membrane? If you remember, in chapter 2, we have studied that the basic component of there are some basic components of living system, in which membrane, or you can say plasma membrane, is one of them. Now, membrane means anything which is cover, which is covering something. So membrane basically, if you in a layman language, if you understand, membrane means outermost cover. Here, suppose you have copy or a book, you put a cover over it. So cover is like a membrane for a copy. So you cover your bed with a bed sheet. The bed sheet is like a membrane. Membrane is the outermost covering. So basic component, it is a basic component of living system. Membranes are the structures that separate the component of a cell from their environment. Okay. So membrane are the structures that separate the components, or you can say contents of a cell from their environment. They also separate the different areas within cell organelles from each other and systole. Okay, now suppose this is a cell. So outer environment, it separates a cell from the outer environment and the other cell organelles. And also within the some cell, their cell organelles are there. So they also separate them from each other and also from the systole. That is the liquid present in the cell. Some organelles are divided further by the internal membrane, but some do not divide. Got it? The formation of separate membrane bound areas in a cell is known as compartmentalization. So now compartment creation is there. It means that is known as compartmentalization. Compartmentalization means the formation of separate membrane bound areas in a cell is known as compartmentalization. Compartmentalization is a vital to cell as metabolism includes many different and often incompatible reactions, and containing those reactions in a separate areas of the cell allows the specific conditions required for cellular reaction, such as chemical gradient, to maintain and protect vital cell components. Now, why this compartmentalization is necessary? Compartmentalization means that is that within the cell, some compartments are created. Now, why this is important? This is important because as for the metabolism, the different parts are there in which different reactions are there. So in order to make all those reactions separate, in order to make the cell which do some reactions in a specific condition, therefore the compartments are created. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. And in this reaction, as the cell allows some specific conditions required for cellular reaction, and those conditions are chemical gradient. It need to maintain some chemical differences. It need to respect some vital components of the cell. In order to do so that this compartmentalization, or you can say creation of small compartments, is necessary in the cell. Here.
Yeah.
First point is there to carry metabolism reaction. Second point to make some specific conditions. Okay. Okay. Now we will study about membrane structure. Now all the membranes in a cell have some basic structure. The cell structure membrane, the cell surface membrane, which separates the cell from its internal environment, is known as plasma membrane. The first definition, this is important one. Plasma membrane is the one which separates the cell from its external environment, is known as a plasma membrane. And membranes are formed of phospholipid bilayer. Okay, this first definition is clear. What is plasma membrane? It is a membrane
Yeah.
which separates the external cell from the external environment. It is known as plasma membrane. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, second point is that membranes are made up of phospholipid bilayer. The hydrophilic phosphate head of the phospholipids form both the inner and the outer surface of a membrane, sandwiching the fatty acid tails of the phospholipids to form hydrophobic core inside the membrane. Now, this phospholipid bilayer, phospholipid means phosphorus and lipids are there. Now, for hydrophilic phosphate head, hydrophilic, hydro means water, philic means loving. So the water loving phosphate head of the phospholipids form both inner and the outer layer. Now you can clearly see these yellow portions are the hydrophilic phosphate head. This and this one and this one is the hydrophilic bilayer. Two layers are there. You can clearly see this is the one layer, first layer, and this is the second layer. So in this way, two layers are formed. Phospholipid two layers are there, and this yellow portion is hydrophilic in nature. And this tail is the hydrophobic, and this is the sandwiching the fatty acid tail. This is the fatty acid tail of the phospholipid, which is hydrophobic in nature. So the core of the membrane is hydrophobic, that is, it hates water, it is water repelling, and the head is a hydrophilic in nature. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, cell normally exists in aqueous environment. The inside of the cell and the cell organelles are also usually of aqueous environment. Mostly cell is always remain there in the water environment, or you can say aqueous environment. Now, phospholipid bilayer are perfectly suited as a membrane because the outer surfaces of the phospholipid phosphates head can interact with water. Now what happens, as this is a hydrophilic in nature, so it will perfectly interact with the water, and hence it is suited for the membrane. Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubt up to this point? No?
No.
Okay. Now we will discuss about cell membrane theory. The membrane was seen for the first time following the invention of the electron microscope. Okay, after the discovery of, or you can say invention of electron microscopy, we in 1950 able to see the membrane, how the membrane look like, how they behave, what is their characteristic, what are the components of the membrane, which allows images to be taken at the higher magnification and resolution. The images taken in 1950 showed the membrane as a two black parallel lines. It was something nothing but two black parallel lines supporting an earlier theory that membrane are composed of a lipid layer. Earlier theory was the membrane are only composed of lipid layers. What we see a two black parallel lines, it means it is only a two bilayer formation of lipid layer. Clear? But in 1972, there was American scientists Singer and Nicholson. These are the ones. They proposed the model building upon the earlier lipid theory model. They proposed a new model of this lipid structure, which was, you can say, built upon the earlier lipid bilayer model only, in which proteins occupy various positions in the membrane. They said that it's not only about the lipid, there are some proteins are also there, which is forming a membrane. Their model is known as fluid mosaic model because phospholipids are free to move within the layer relative to each other, as they are fluid, giving the membrane a flexibility. And because the proteins embedded in a bilayer vary in shape, size, and position in the same way the tiles of a mosaic. So therefore it is known as a fluid mosaic model. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Got it? Any doubt in this?
No.
So who proposed this model? Singer and Nicholson proposed this fluid mosaic model, and why it is known as a fluid mosaic, because their layers are relatively, you can say, are there in motion, with each other as like in the fluid layer, and which gives the flexibility. And because the proteins are embedded in the bilayer, the shape, size, and the position are flexible. So therefore, they are known as a ties in the mosaic. So therefore, this model forms the basis of our understanding of the membranes today, and therefore it is also known as the fluid mosaic model. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay, shall we? Now a closer look, we will take a closer look how this cell membrane components are there. So plasma membrane contains various proteins and lipids, the types and the number of which are particularly to each cell. You can clearly see these are the cholesterol flexibility, you can say cholesterol for stability and flexibility. This is a glycoprotein, branching carbohydrate protein, portion of a protein which act as a cognization site for the chemicals, etc. and hormones. So different things are little important things are there in the cell membrane. So we will study all these things. You can clearly see these are the hydrophilic parts of the phospholipid, and these tails are the hydrophobic in nature. So this is the protein molecule lying on the surface. These are the pores in between the protein. There's a pore, again protein molecules, some hydrophobic tails, hydrophilic protein molecules. So different things are there. Clear? This is the fluid mosaic model of the plasma membrane for showing many of the components, including cholesterol, glycolipid, glycoprotein, and the membrane of the protein. The component of plasma membrane plays an important role in the function of the membrane and cell or cell organelles they are part of. So each and every component has something specific important role. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, membrane protein. Membrane proteins have important roles in the various functions of membranes. There are two types of protein in the cell surface: intrinsic and extrinsic protein. Intrinsic and extrinsic protein. Now, repeating, membrane proteins have important roles in the various functions of membrane. There are two types of protein. The first one is intrinsic protein, and the other one is extrinsic protein. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Any doubt up to this point?
No.
Sure?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the two types of protein which we have there?
Intrinsic, extrinsic.
Intrinsic and extrinsic protein. Okay. Okay, now what are the intrinsic and extrinsic protein? Intrinsic means inside layer, extrinsic means outside layer. Okay. So intrinsic proteins or integral proteins, we can also call them as the integral protein, are the transmembrane proteins that are embedded through both layers of the membrane. Okay, these are also the polypeptides, and which are embedded through the both layer of the membrane. They have amino acids with hydrophobic R group on their external surface, which interact with the hydrophobic core. Hydrophobic R group on the external surfaces, which interact with the hydrophobic core of the membrane, keeping them in place. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can say that these are the, you can say, layers which are embedded in the lipid bilayer, so that the polypeptides came in contact with the non-polar region of the bilayer. So they are always in contact with the one which is hydrophobic. Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubt up to this point?
No.
Okay. Now, channel and carrier of protein. Channel and the carrier proteins are the intrinsic proteins. Again, this is important one. Channel and the carrier protein are the intrinsic protein. They are both involved in transport across the membrane. A channel protein provides a hydrophilic channel that allows the passive movement, that is diffusion of the polar molecules and ions down a concentration gradient through the membrane. Now, whenever, because of the difference in the concentration, there is a movement of particles through the membrane, that channel protein allows that movement, and they held in a position by interaction between the hydrophobic core of the membrane and the hydrophobic R group on outside the protein. Is that clear?
Yeah.
I'm again repeating, this channel protein, they provide hydrophilic channel that allows the passive movement of polar molecule and ions down a concentration gradient through membrane. Okay.
Yeah.
Now they are held in position by the interactions between the hydrophobic core of membrane and the hydrophobic R group on the outside of protein. Clear?
Yeah.
The second line is clear. They are held in the position by the interaction between the hydrophobic core.
Yeah.
Okay, ji. Now carrier protein. The second type is the carrier protein. This is also important. Carrier protein have an important role in both passive transport down the concentration gradient and active transport against a concentration gradient into cells. Now, carrier protein is an important role in passive transport. Passive transport means which is down a concentration gradient, and active transport means which is against the concentration gradient into the cell. Moving in and out, the things which are moving in and out of the cell, the carrier protein is doing that role. This often involves the shape of the protein changing. This often involves the shape of the protein changing. Because of this thing, the protein shape is changing. Is that okay? Got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now we will see glycoprotein, what glycoproteins are doing. So that is the what intensive protein. Okay, now glycoprotein. Glycoprotein are also intensive protein. You can also remember that glycoprotein are also intensive protein. They are embedded in the cell surface membrane with attached carbohydrate, sugar chains of the varying length and shape. So glycoprotein are intensive protein. They are embedded in the cell surface membrane with attached carbohydrate, sugar, chains of varying length and shape. Clear?
Yeah.
Now, glycoprotein plays an important role in cell adhesion, that is joining together from tight junction of certain tissues. Now, glycoprotein plays a role in cell adhesion when the cell joins together to form tight junction in certain tissues and as receptor for chemical signals. So it also helps in the receptor part. Clear? So glycoprotein plays an important role in cell adhesion when cell joins together to form tight junctions in certain tissues. Now, whenever cells are joining together, they require something to, you can say, to join. So this glycoprotein helps or plays a role in cell adhesion. Okay, and as a receptor for the chemical signals. So if there is any chemical signal, then it also acts as a receptor in that chemical signal. Got it?
Yeah.
So this is the first function of the glycoprotein. Now, when the chemical binds to the receptor, it elicits a response from the cell. This may cause a direct response or set off a cascade of events inside the cell. Now, whenever a chemical binds to the receptor, now suppose some external chemical is coming and it binds to the receptor. Receptor is the one which is receiving the chemical. It creates a response from the cell, and this may cause a direct response or set off a cascade of events, or it may create some response, or what it can do, it can create a you can say cascade of events. Cascade of events, it creates a series of events inside the cell, and this process is known as cell communication or cell signaling. This process is known as cell communication or cell signaling. Okay, so cell signaling means whenever a response, whenever a chemical binds to the receptor, it creates a response, or it may set off a cascade of events. This process is known as cell signaling, which includes receptors from neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine at nerve cell synapses. The binding of neurotransmitters triggers or prevents an impulse in the next neuron. Now, receptor from the neurotransmitter, what if there is a neurotransmitter such as, you can say, acetylcholine at nerve cell synapses. So it and then it receives this acetylcholine as a nerve cell synapses, and the binding of these neurotransmitters triggers or it prevents an impulse in the next neuron. Clear?
Yeah.
Now, the receptors of peptide hormones, including insulin and glucagon, which affect the uptake and storage of glucose by cell. The receptors for peptide hormones include insulin and glucagon, which affect the uptake and storage of glucose by the cell. So in this way, this cell signaling works. Both these two things are clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any doubt?
No.
Okay. Now, some drugs act by the binding of cell receptors. For example, beta blockers are used to reduce the response of the heart to stress. Now, there are some drugs act as the binding to cell receptor. For example, beta blockers are used to reduce the response of the heart to stress. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, Ji. Now we will study about glycolipids. Now, glycolipids are similar to glycoproteins. They are lipids with attached carbohydrate sugar chain. These are lipids with attached carbohydrate sugar chain, and these molecules are called as cell markers or antigens and are recognized by the cell of the immune system as a self or non-self. Clear?
Yeah.
Now, glycolipids are similar to glycoprotein. These are the lipids which attach to carbohydrate sugar chain. And these molecules are known as cell marker or antigen and can be recognized by the cell of immune system as a self of the organism or non-self, that is the cell belonging to other organism. Up to this point, is that clear?
Yeah. It's clear.
Any doubt?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Now do one thing, just quickly read out all these things. Quickly read it.
Okay.
Quickly read all these. Okay. Now we will discuss about extrinsic protein. Now, extrinsic or peripheral. Extrinsic, whenever the word extrinsic is there, it means you're talking about the outermost thing. Peripheral means also again the outermost, which is at the periphery. So they are known as the extrinsic protein or peripheral proteins and are present in the one side of the bilayer. So they are present in the one side of the bilayer. They normally have hydrophilic R group. R means any alkyl group, mostly alkyl or anything, any bigger, you can say higher number of carbon groups are there. Hydrophilic means, which is hydro means water, philic means loving, so water loving group on their outer surfaces and interact with the polar heads of the phospholipids or with the intrinsic protein. So they are in contact with the phospholipids and their heads, that is the phospholipid, their polar head are in the contact with the intrinsic protein, and the other hydrophilic R groups are at the outermost surface. Here, they are present in either layer and some move between the layers. So they are present in the either layer and some moves between the layers. Okay. Now we will talk about cholesterol. Now cholesterol is a lipid with a hydrophilic end and a hydrophobic end. One end is hydrophilic, that is water loving, and the other end is hydrophobic. Hydro means water, phobic means hitting. So one end is hydrophilic and the other end is hydrophobic, like phospholipids. The same thing is there. It regulates the fluidity of the membrane. So the cholesterol works in the fluidity of the membrane. Now cholesterol molecules are positioned between phospholipids in the membrane bilayer with a hydrophilic end interacting within the head and the hydrophobic end interacting with the tail, pulling them together. Okay, now if you see this figure, yes, This is the cholesterol one. So cholesterol is in between the two hydrophobic and the hydrophilic end, in between the layers. You
Yeah,
can clearly
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Okay, and this cholesterol works for the stability and the flexibility of the membrane. Okay, yeah, this one is the cholesterol, this one is cholesterol, this one is cholesterol, this one is cholesterol, this one is cholesterol. All these are the cholesterol. Got it? Any
Yeah.
doubt?
No, no.
Okay. Now cholesterol molecules are positioned between the phospholipid in a membrane bilayer. So between the two phospholipid, there is one cholesterol molecule with hydrophilic end interacting with the head and the hydrophobic end interacting with the tail, pulling them together. Now, as they are pulling all each and everything together, it means they keep the two layers in one. You can say they keep the two layers stagnant, or they make the stability. In this way, cholesterol adds stability to the membranes without making them too rigid. Now, it doesn't make them rigid, it makes it flexible also. Now, the cholesterol molecule prevent the membrane becoming too solid by stopping the phospholipid molecule from grouping very closely and crystallizing. Now, as these are, suppose these are the two phospholipids, and in between them we have this. I will make it through different color. Leave it. This is cholesterol. Oh, just a second. Hmm. Hmm. So between them, suppose this is the, yeah, this is cholesterol. So as cholesterol is between the two phospholipid layers, which makes the phospholipid layers, or which denies the grouping of the phospholipid layers. And as the phospholipid layer do not come close together, it destroys their crystallizing power. Clear?
Yeah.
And it makes them flexible, and hence they are not, you can say, they are not make them rigid, and crystal formation will not take place in that time. Got it? Okay. Then sites of chemical reaction, like enzyme, proteins in the membrane also forming cell organelles or present within the organelle. Now, as like enzymes, proteins in the cell membranes forming organelles or present in the cell organelles have to be in a particular positions for chemical reactions to take place. Now, each and every protein is in a particular sequence. For example, electron pairs, electron carriers, and the enzyme ATP synthesize have to be in the correct position. Now, in the protein part, the enzyme and this electron carrier, they need to be in a particular correct positions, so that the all the reactions within the inner membrane and the mitochondrion will take place. Within the cysteine, for the production of ATP in the respiration. The enzyme of photosynthesis are found on the membrane stack within the cytoplasm. Got it? Any doubt?
No, no.
So your chapter, this one topic is finished. Clear? Then we will
Yeah.
discuss 5.2. Okay. Now quickly do these questions, 4 questions. First is determine the term compartmentalization, means creation of compartment within the cell. Okay, the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic one protein. You can easily write these two things. Always remember, this is of 2 marks and this is of 4 marks. Alcohol, caffeine, and nicotine all are lipid soluble molecules. They have an almost instant and widespread effect on the body. Explain why. Can you tell me this thing?
Which one?
Third question.
Alcohol, caffeine, and nicotine are lipids.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Think over it. Alcohol, caffeine, and nicotine all are lipid soluble molecules. Then what will happen if something is lipid soluble molecule?
They can go
Is it
through the
something related to
membrane.
intrinsic one?
They can go through the membrane.
They can go through the membrane, and then what they will do?
Is it like
Hmm?
it has a quick effect?
Yes. That is why they have a quick effect, na? That's why they have an almost instant widespread effect on the body. You need to explain them.
Oh,
Yes. Quickly,
so
quickly.
they
Batao.
can like go through the whole body, like quickly. I don't know how to explain it.
What do you mean by the lipid soluble means? That they can get to the phospholipid bilayer because they are permeable.
Yeah,
It means that they can quickly move inside our body.
yeah, they can quickly go through the membrane.
They okay.
If it's
Yeah, they
membrane.
can quickly go through the membrane, and what they can do, they are you can say they attach the glycosidic, and they create channel signaling, and they receptors, for example, receptors for the neurotransmitters such as acetylcholine at the nerve cell synapses. The binding of the neurotransmitter triggers the prevention and the impulse next to neuron. So they are sort of a glycoproteins. They work very easily. Clear?
Yeah.
Any doubt?
No.
Okay. And then what about next question? Membrane, particularly those present within the mitochondria, are often highly folded, suggests the advantage of this folding provides.
Membrane.
You've just studied it.
Oh, is it because there is more surface area?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
a higher rate of reaction.
High rate of what reaction will take place there? How it will happen?
Because there's more enzymes.
No. Read this thing. For example, the electron carrier and the ATP enzyme synapses have to be in a correct position within the cisterine, that is the inner membrane of mitochondria, for the production of ATP in respiration. Clear?
So there's
So
a higher
as there is a
ATP.
more surface area, it means more amount of carrier electrons and enzyme synapses will take place within the cisterine, and hence there will be the more production of ATP in the respiration, and hence you will get more amount of energy. Clear?
Yeah.
So I hope you can write all these things now.
Okay.
Yeah, quickly write it. Quickly write all those 4 questions. I'm waiting.